Alright, what up guys? Today I wanted to talk about what stat bonuses should you start with at the beginning of Kingdom Come Deliverance. Now, in my opinion, there's definitely one true best stat bonus that you can get at the beginning of the game, but to an extent it is going to depend on what you're going to be doing with your character, and to an extent whether or not you're a beginner at the game. And I say to an extent because I'm going to be starting with that. What most people generally think you should do as a beginner in Kingdom Come Deliverance is just stick with strength. And while that isn't the worst idea in the world for a beginner player, because it does help you with your fight against Kanesh, there is a better way to go about it even still that doesn't actually sacrifice your strength or any of the other stats that you choose to forego. We should just completely ignore this suggestion and go with one of these two suggestions instead. Now, the way I personally break down what stat bonus you should start with depends honestly only on one thing. Are you going for a maximum build or not? And then I guess tangentially related, a secondary thing, are you going for more of like a pacifist and speech related build, or are you going for a combat build? Now the second one is going to be far more specific. If you're going for a speech build, I think the choice is going to be obvious that you... Oops, didn't mean to hit that button actually. I think the choice is going to be obvious that you should do a speech build. But even though speech is probably the best option, which I will explain here shortly, I think vitality is also a really good option. Alright, so one really important detail that we have to get out of the way first is the main level. The maximum level in this game is level 20. So first of all, the way you gain your main level is through gaining experience in your speech, vitality, agility, and strength, as well as your progress in the main story, from what I understand. So the only way to get level 20, maximum level in this game, is to not only beat the entire main story, but also to get 20 in every single one of your stats. And one stat in particular is kind of gonna be a thorn in your side, and it's speech. So if you are going for a maximum level of 20, you are gonna wanna start with speech as your bonus stat, because of how slow speech raises in general. Now, pretty much every other skill can be raised in some sort of way. Your agility can be raised by using like the finer swords, like the short swords and the hunter's swords, things like that, and also from using the bow. Your strength is gained not only through combat with your maces, your axes, and your long swords, but it's also raised, believe it or not, through herbalism, whatever you want to call it. Because once you reach level 10, in herbalism, which by the way is very easy to do within Skalitz. All you got to do is pick about half of the flowers in Skalitz and you'll end up with level 10 herbalism, and that'll grant you the ability to gain strength experience every single time you pick an ingredient off the ground. So if we're just talking about the herbs within Skalitz, you can get to I think about level 7 or 8 strength from level 1 using just herbalism alone without even touching a single weapon. So in my opinion, the herbalism bonus to strength immediately deletes the need for the strength bonus at the beginning. Like, who needs that +2 strength bonus at the beginning when you can get nearly infinite strength experience just from picking flowers? Like, you don't even have to buy a weapon or start a fight to get your strength experience. Pretty crucial. So that leaves agility, vitality, and speech. Vitality, despite being one of my better suggestions for a non-max build, which we will get into in a second, vitality actually has its own bonus too, which I didn't pick enough nettles for yet. But after you pick 100 nettles, you actually get a permanent bonus to vitality. So you just grab a bunch of nettle here real quick, and you'll notice that after you pick 100 nettle, the resistance perk just pops up on its own. You don't actually have to spend any perk points or anything to get the resistance perk. It just shows up on its own. Basically, after you collect 100 nettles, you get a permanent +2 vitality bonus, which is very conveniently the same bonus that you would get if you started with vitality at the beginning of the game. So in my opinion, the resistance bonus for vitality negates the need for the vitality bonus at the beginning of the game, and leg day perk, which gives you strength experience, also negates strength as the beginning perk at the beginning of the game. On top of this, just running around actually and vaulting fences as well as just in general surviving combat situations, will also gain you vitality experience. So in my opinion, vitality and strength are probably the two easiest skills to raise in the entire game. And agility is quite similar. There's no similar perks for agility, so unfortunately there isn't that. But agility is easy enough to raise just from using like short swords or bows or whatever, that I don't really find it to be that necessary, honestly. It's pretty easy to raise. Like if you're short for some agility, just start running after some sheep with a short sword and you'll get it up pretty quickly. And that leaves me with speech, which you may be wondering, well, how do you raise speech? Well, there's no special perks like we have for strength or vitality. The only real way to raise speech in this game is through bartering, and successfully bartering, of course. But also you get, oh yeah, you see that speech experience there. Basically, anytime there's a dialogue, I believe it's literally only one experience. You get one experience for every dialogue option that you select in the game. And it only applies once, so you can't just keep talking to the same person over and over again. You'll notice that the speech options, they start out white and then they turn gray. Only the white options give you the experience. Turning a white speech option into gray text is what gives you the one experience. So if you're trying to raise your speech level, you are going to be talking to hundreds of people about thousands of topics because it is just that slow going. It takes so long. I got to like level, I want to say 15 speech naturally by the end of the game. And those last 5 speech levels to get to level 20 so I could max out my character and get the achievement took hours. It took hours. Like, it took days. Like, it took like multiple play sessions of like several hours to get from level 15 to level 20 speech. And that was like trying to do literally nothing other than gain speech experience. So that was like purposefully seeking out as many people as I can to select as many of these, you know, white options here. Each one of these gives you one experience. You gotta select those, skip through all that. That's how you get speech experience. And it is so long and arduous. And that is why I say, finally, at the end of this long excursion of an explanation, why if you're going for a level 20 max build, you need to select the hardest to raise stat bonus at the beginning, which is speech. It will just make everything so much easier in the end because it's just 2 speech levels that you don't have to gain. It's not a whole lot, but it's something. Like, you will max out all the other skills so much faster than speech that you will be kicking yourself in the ass later, like, damn it, why did I not choose speech? I can't believe I chose strength. That was the easiest thing to raise. I should have chose speech. I am telling you, if you are going for a max build, choose speech. Do not even think twice about it. If you are going for a max build, choose speech. Oh, and I just want to throw in there, my max level was 19 the whole time, by the way. With level 15 speech, level 20 and everything else, and the entire main quest completed, I was stuck at level 19 until I got those last 5 speech levels. So like, yeah, it's a big deal. But with that being said, if you have already reached level 20 and already got the achievement, or you just in general don't care about reaching the max level, and you're okay with your max level being like 19 or whatever, you could pretty much ignore speech entirely. You should obviously get some speech experience, but I would not suggest speech as the starting skill unless you're doing the max build. If you're not, you should choose vitality. The reason why you should choose vitality, it's honestly just the best overall skill in the game, regardless of what you're doing. So first of all, and most obviously, vitality means you have more health, right? Basically, your health and your stamina are both directly tied to vitality. So if you want to survive in combat, you're going to need vitality. If you want to be able to run for longer, you're going to need vitality. And I would say that compared to agility and strength, like if you're just sitting there trying to grind a skill, vitality is actually the hardest to just grind. I mean, you can just be hopping fences like this. The thing is, if we're talking about natural progression, it raises pretty well naturally. Like, if you're just going about the game normally and you're not trying to grind any skills, they're all pretty equal, I think. If you're just doing combat pretty regularly, if you're using a strength weapon, your strength and your vitality are going to raise pretty much equally. If you're using short swords, your agility and vitality are going to raise pretty much equally. But as far as like seeking out experience, vitality is going to be the most tedious because you only get experience when stamina bar runs completely low. So you got to sprint your whole stamina bar away to get experience that way. And then you also get experience every time you vault a fence or a wall or something like that. And those are basically going to be your 2 options for vitality experience, which, you know, it's slow going, but I have to admit it is essentially infinite because you can just hop back and forth over vaults all day long until you get the experience you want. But in my opinion, strength and agility are just so much easier because all you got to do is pull out your weapon or your fist and just start punching or shooting or stabbing or whatever, and you'll get your strength and agility experience pretty damn fast that way, honestly. Oh, that's the other thing. It was your stamina recovery. That was the second thing. So not only do you have more stamina to start with, but you have more stamina recovery as well, which is, again, super duper duper important for both combat and movement. Because, again, not only can you just run longer distances before getting tired, but then your stamina comes back faster so you can start running again. So it just overall makes travel on foot far more efficient. And then of course combat, you're recovering your stamina in the middle of combat a lot faster, and that is extremely helpful for very obvious reasons. But yeah, again, the only real exception to these two caveats, whether or not you're doing the max build or not, would be is if you're doing some sort of very specific like pacifist or speech build. Obviously you're probably going to want to start with speech if you're going for like a directly speech related build and you're not really going to be finding yourself in combat all that often. Still might go for vitality, honestly, just for the extra security of health and stamina. But if you're doing a speech build, there's really no reason you shouldn't choose speech either. So that's fair as well. But as far as like the two main scenarios, I think, which is if you're doing a max build or if you're doing literally any other build other than a speech build, there's basically two options. If you're doing the max build, you gotta pick speech just because it's the hardest to raise skill and it's gonna take you a lot longer to get to max level 20 if you don't select speech as your starting bonus. And then for everybody else, excluding a speech specific build, vitality just makes the most sense because of how ubiquitous health and stamina are. It doesn't matter what build you are making, you're gonna need health, you're gonna need stamina. It's just gonna be the most overall helpful skill in the most amount of situations in the game. And then not only that, but in my opinion at least, it's harder to like directly raise if you're like seeking out specific experience. Strength and agility are probably going to be the easiest to raise because again, all you got to do is pick up a sword and start hitting sheep and you get it pretty rapidly. But in any scenario, all three of them raise pretty evenly together. So in my opinion, it mostly boils down to which one is the most useful for the most situations, and it's absolutely vitality. Like zero question, it's vitality for several reasons. But anyways, hopefully this video wasn't too long-winded, but I really wanted to get like in depth as to why these decisions should be made the way they should be made. Obviously at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want. It's your character. Play the game however you feel like playing it. But if you're trying to be efficient or you're wondering like, oh, what's like the best way to do this, honestly, go with vitality. Unless you're going for like the max level achievement, then choose speech. But in pretty much all situations, I would recommend vitality. If you're a beginner, strength, you might want to do that for your first run, but honestly, skip the strength, just do vitality. It'll help you just as much in that fight with Kanesh, and then you can make up for the strength by literally just picking a bunch of flowers off the ground. So spend a good 30 minutes picking flowers and it'll pay off. But yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it, found it useful. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I find that useful. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video.